Hey, beautiful souls, here are 3 ways that you can start to use AI to make your life a little bit easier and make you a little more successful on the inside as well as the outside, ultimately making your quality of life better. I'm also going to give you one tool you can immediately start to use with artificial intelligence that's going to expedite you getting to your goals and your results in this life. If you're new here, my name is Madhu, like don't touch Madhu, or as some call me, the fireman of Alaska. That's not true, but that sounded funny in my head. Anyway, let's get into 3 ways. The first one is very typical, what you think with AI, and that is improving efficiency. We're going to break down how AI can make you more efficient. The second one, which is where we get a little more fun, is around clarity. This is how to gain more clarity in your life and how AI forces you towards more clarity in your life. And then we get into what I would say mirroring, or another way to look at that is objective perspectives. We'll break that down here. So the efficiency one, this is what most people think of in terms of AI. It's just making what would take a long time in the past take a short time now. An example might be with a copywriter who would have to take tons of time and hours to type everything out, to bulk things up and explain things and do a bunch of research to take that knowledge and figure out how to integrate it, can now be done in a matter of a few seconds, frankly, with artificial intelligence. It's taking things that are already happening through various processes, technological processes, and shortening the time from that you actually get the result of, well, in this case, the prompt or what you're asking it to do. So right off the bat, we all know, and I don't think there's much argument around the idea that it improves efficiency, and it's going to help you if you know how to use it properly, especially if you know how to prompt it properly. It's going to help make things far more efficient in terms of the time that things get done in your life. The second area where AI can not only can improve the quality of your life, I would say it forces you to improve the quality of your life, is around clarity. You can only get back from AI to the extent that you give in. What does that mean? As one of my teachers would say, used to say, probably still does, you can tell someone where they're at in their mind by the quality of questions that they ask. Look at the quality of the questions somebody asks, you have a pretty good idea of where they're at in their life. Because the specificity that one can ask in terms of a question and the amount of detail and the amount of depth is going to be reflective to where they're at mentally. When it comes to AI, AI will only respond to what you give it, to what you put in. So to the extent that you have a clear idea on something you're asking of it, to that extent it will provide you a clear answer. An example might be if you just went to AI and said, give me some good news, which is actually a good question to ask people. That's one of my favorite questions to ask people. People say, hey, how are you? I say, I'm not going to answer that, but give me some good news. What can it give you? It's going to give you something very general and vague. But if you say, hey, please give me some good news happening here in Laguna Beach, California on X date, you'll get something more specific. To the specificity that you ask it, it will reciprocate. So when it comes to prompting AI, you are forced to have to get really clear on what you want it to do. And as you know, if you've been here before, what we talk about all the time is clarity. You can only get to the place you want to go if you're clear on where that destination is. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. This term in Sanskrit we've talked about before, there's the same term for knowledge and light. Same term, vidya. Vidya means knowledge and light, whereas avidya, the negation of it, is not light or darkness, and not knowledge or ignorance. There's this concept that where there's knowledge and where there's light and illumination in the mind, it's the same thing, whereas where there's a lack of illumination or darkness, there's a type of ignorance, a lack of knowledge. To the extent that there's illumination or clarity, you will actually understand to that extent, you'll understand the thing, if that makes sense. Let's now break it down, Madhu. Come on, speak English to us. What I'm saying here is that if you know what you need and you can ask AI according to what you're looking for specifically, it will reciprocate. And on the contrary, if you give it something vague and general, you're going to get something vague and general back. So what it does is it forces you to have to get really clear on what exactly you're looking for and what you want, so that when you prompt it, you actually get an answer that is helpful and appropriate and not just general and vague. Almost everyone, when they start with AI, we'd start asking just random questions, and that we're totally dissatisfied with the answer. I know I was like I would prompt Google, like, what happened on this date with this thing happened? It's like, what? And you get some random answer. Like, I'm so unsatisfied about this. But then when I started to learn the benefit, or you could say the utilization of asking really clear questions, and I'm going to give you guys some clear prompts here in a minute. To that extent, I was getting feedback that was just mind-blowing because I knew what I was looking for. I knew what I was asking. So if you know what you're asking, you'll be able to actually get answers according to that. So number 2 is it forces you to be clear on what you're asking, which is just a good meditation in life. It's going to get you much further than trying to ask vague general questions. Now the third, this is also a fascinating aspect of AI, is that it's as objective as it can be. And it's as objective as you allow it to be. So when it comes to getting outside perspectives, which why would we want outside perspectives? Because you've trained your mind to see what you want to see. And we often are limited by our own limitations of thought. As I believe it was Einstein who said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's crazy. But we do the same things over and over because we've trained ourselves by our conditioning to act and respond in a certain way. If we're looking to grow and expand outside of that, that's why we need other people to mirror us, other people to give additional types of perspectives of, so that we can grow and we can step outside of our comfort zone, step outside of our processing system to conceive of and think of different things. What AI does when you prompt it, when you give it information, it's going to give you as objective information as it possibly can. Obviously, you can prompt it in a way to become more subjective, but if you're not doing that, it's going to try to give you the most objective answer that it knows how to. What that's going to do is help give you perspectives that are outside of the limitations of your brain and your mindset. Even if you're talking to a human, we're sensitive entities, humans. We're less little jivas, atmas in Sanskrit, these Sanskrit terms for the self, the soul. We're sensitive. We feel things. We're very influenced. And just by having a conversation with someone that you know and love, as if by force, we're influencing each other. And no matter how strongly minded you are, we're constantly affecting each other just by our communication. So even if someone wants to give us good advice, it still can be influenced by how the information lands. So if somebody feels very comfortable speaking directly, cool. There's going to be less fluff there. If somebody is less comfortable, you're going to get only a limit of what they actually feel and they express. AI ain't going to hold nothing back on you, especially if you prompt it appropriately. Give it to me straight, AI. You're going to get objective opinioning there. So not only are things going to become a little bit more efficient, you're going to streamline them. Things can happen quickly. I mean, what used to take my copywriter literally 20 hours a week, now it takes them 1, 2, and just because you still have to bring the human element into it, you prompt it, you take what AI gives you, and then you modify it so it's actually authentic. You put it in your voice. You can actually train AI to speak in your voice, which is freaking awesome, and I'll talk about that here in a second. So it's going to make things more efficient. It's also going to help you. It's going to force you to get really clear on what you want. And if you're not clear on what you want, you ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna never gonna get it. It's just not gonna happen. You have to get a clear idea of where you want to go, and then you can actually get there. And then the third step is it's gonna give you an objective perspective. And even if sure, let's not even call it objective. Let's just call it an additional outside perspective to help you see things in a way that you might not be seeing. It's gonna show you areas and aspects that you wouldn't know to focus on. You wouldn't even know are available. You wouldn't even know to think about, etc. And I want to give you one specific prompt that you guys can use immediately that's going to not only make life efficient, more clear, and give you some more alternative perspectives, but help you get to your goals in a way that just makes sense using these 3 tools, using these 3 aspects, you can say. So go to any AI model that's there. I always like to give the example of ChatGPT because it's still you can say the number 1 model that's out there. It might not be the best one. It might not be the most up to date, but it's been there for as long as any of the others and some. And especially with GPT-4, which who knows when you're watching this video. By the time you watch the video, maybe there's GPT-8 or whatever it might be. But as of today, GPT-4 is amongst the high-level models there. There's Claude 2, Llama 2. There's tons of others out there. But we're just going to go with GPT-4. If you want the free version, I think it's 3.5. You can get some free inputs there as well. I'm going to teach you how to start to prompt things in such a way to get you closer to your goals. So the first step in this, you got to know what your goals are, which forces you to step 2 with clarity, is figure out what are the things that you want in your life, what are your particular goals, and you write them out deeply and explicitly and clearly. Once you've done that, my hope is that you already know to do that because you've watched my videos. But if not, no problem. Sit down, turn anything with an on-off switch off, and just get a piece of paper and a pen and write down everything that you want, and don't stop until you can't think of anything else, and then go 5 more minutes, and then you can actually stop. And take everything that you want, take your goals, take your aspirations, take the direction you want to be going in your life, and then you can actually ask ChatGPT to give you advice and direction. Now, keep in mind, I'm not suggesting you have to listen to everything it says, but it could save you the time and the trouble to not only give you efficient answers, to force you to get more clarity on what you want, but also give you perspectives of things that you weren't thinking about before. An example would be like this. Let's say you want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. Let's say that's the goal, which in your mind, the way it first thinks is you think, oh, I want to look better, or I want to get healthier. What the hell does that mean? No one knows what that means. Better, healthier. You got to make an explicitly clean plan. Maybe it's I am X% body fat. Maybe it's I've gained 5 pounds of muscle. Whatever that might look like. I've cleaned up my diet. Get a really clear idea. So let's take something like, maybe let's even go more specific. You want to follow a plant-based diet, an organic, whole food, plant-based diet. Then what you can do is you give the role to GPT or whatever AI platform that you're using. You always have to ask it to assume a role. You don't have to, but if you want a more appropriate answer, give it a role. And so an example like this might be act as an expert plant-based nutritionist. You're giving it the role. Assume the role of an expert plant-based nutritionist, or fill in the blank. It might be at different angles you're going to want to take there. And then you give it a task. What are the steps? Create a step-by-step game plan to get me to the situation where I only eat an organic, plant-based diet with whole foods, or whatever that particular goal is. And then what it's going to start to do is it's going to start to spit out examples of things that you can do. You can even be more specific and say, give me a 5-step plan process to go from where I'm at, maybe where you're at. I don't know, if you're a pescatarian that wants to go plant-based. And it's like, how do I get from my current diet, which is blank, to a plant-based organic diet over the next 90 days? And then my friends, will give you a whole plan. And then once you've done that, you can even go more specific, where it's give me 15 recipes, where plant-based recipes based on the suggestion you gave me above, where I'm hitting, and you can even fill in your macros, like hitting this much protein per day, or whatever the case may be. You can start to tell it and ask it what you want, and it's going to give you feedback. You can even say, then put that into a table for me. So pick a goal and then start to prompt it to answer how you can get from where you're currently at to where you want to. Think of it as like when you're pulling up your GPS on your phone, you put in a final location, the destination, and then you put in your current location. So what you do is you're giving those 2 answers to AI. Okay, here's where I'm currently at. Here's where I want to go. Give me a game plan to get from A to B. And then the same way as it would walk you through the steps on a GPS, this will walk you through steps that it suggests. You can, if you don't like it, then ask for an alternative. I don't like this one. Give me an alternative step-by-step process. And then from there, you can start to play around with it. Now, keep in mind, AI takes some time to be trained to really be able to reciprocate with you in the way you want it to. So you can always take the answers it gives, put it into another document, reword it in a way that is more authentic and real to you, and then plug that in. Say, okay, based on this plan, what would be a diet plan that I could follow? What would be, according to the rules of Ayurveda and Eastern nutrition, what are the times a day I should eat in order to gain 5 pounds of muscle? Like that, you can start to ask it, and the specificity of the questions that you ask, not only are you going to get quick answers that are efficient, and if you're getting really clear and specific on the question you ask, you're going to get opinions that are going to be beyond what you could possibly store in your brain, at least on a conscious level, because it's searching a lot of information. I don't even know how much. I think the last time we checked, it was something like 100 million processes are there. Anyway, it's just crazy the amount of information it stores, that it goes through and utilizes and then produces an answer for you. So I'd love to hear, comment below, what are the particular goals that you plugged into GPT, and what are some steps? Give me some examples that you guys are plugging in that you're getting some results for, because we're playing around with this, and we're actually going to come up with a video sometime soon with, I'm going to show you how to start to do this depending on which areas of your life, be it in holistic health, be it around conscious business, be it around developing a sustainable spiritual life, which those are obviously 3 things that we do and help people with, or any other areas of your life, using artificial intelligence to make life more efficient, gain more clarity, and then get some opinions that are broader than what your mind can think of and conceive of. Okay, see you in the next video.